Jesus Christ. Poor Alex Smith, man.
Why poor Alex Smith?
I mean, he's like the bad luck Brian of fucking the NFL.
Well, I mean, okay, so why I was confused by the poor Alex Smith, I was like,
well, he didn't even get to play last week, like after all he's been through, you know?
I know, because he was hurt.
He was hurt last week?
I think so. But anyway, here's where I'm coming down on the whole Alex Smith thing. I think that dude is the luckiest dude on the face of the planet.
How do you figure?
All right, listen.
Go ahead.
I would
love to listen to this.
Okay.
Simply.
All right. A year or two ago, dude was almost dead. 7 post, lower leg injury surgeries, infections. Either dead or an amputee.
This close to death.
It was close. Right. Okay. So he went from, bro, you could die.
He almost lost his leg.
Okay, and I have another one to add in. You could die, you could be an amputee, or even if you're not an amputee, you'll be hobbled the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to walk.
You ain't going to be able to do nothing.
Those are your options. Dude didn't die. Dude didn't become an amputee. Dude didn't hobble. I mean, he did for a while, but didn't hobble.
Dude said, hold my beer.
Dude made a professional football team, period,
which he shouldn't have been
stop.
drinking because he almost died from that infection that you're talking about.
The number of people that try to even attain one of those 32 positions every year.
Yeah.
And the number of humanity that, okay.
Let's call it space. His name might have preceded him a little bit.
He makes the team.
They weren't like, Alex Smith? Never heard of him.
He makes the team, makes the regular 52-man roster, eventually takes over the starting job, and is the key point on offense that drives them to a playoff appearance on a team that had no business being there. So he makes the team. He independently of that becomes a starter of the team, then takes that team who sucks to the playoffs.
Well, let's caveat that with a big old fucking side order of, in the worst division in football, they were the only team with a losing record that got into the playoffs.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, they...
that is an odd scenario, but I think that fights my point.
Fair
working out in his... He couldn't have done that in the AFC West.
Oh, it worked out for him? Did it? Okay, well, see, that all that shit that you just said is exactly my point. Let's go back a couple of years. Let's go back to where he hurts his ankle when he's the starting quarterback for San Fran. He's the way of the future. It's finally his in time. What happens? He gets Kaepernicked. He breaks his ankle and then gets replaced by a guy that outperforms him, so to speak. Like, he just did his job.
Takes him to a Super Bowl.
Well, I mean... the whole team made it to the Super Bowl. Let's call a spade, because I believe Kaepernick started the next year. It was at least suboptimal, if borderline mediocre, if not bad. Okay, so he gets replaced there. And you're like, oh, woe is me. Because there's an unwritten rule that you don't get replaced when you're injured. Like, you at least get to come back and battle for your position. Never happened. They just went with Kaepernick.
Okay, this is a lot of detail.
Yeah, and then he goes to the Chiefs. He's like, all right, it's a decent team. We make it into the playoffs. We make it into deep in the playoffs this year. I'm at least legit. No, we got Mahomes. You need to find some other employment. He's like, fuck. Can't a guy catch a break? And then he's like, oh, okay, the Skins want me. They're going to pay me. Okay, all right. I can make this happen, because at the time that he went over there, they were pretty decent.
The team formerly known as Skins, the Washington football team.
I wasn't saying the other thing that made it racist. I was cutting off the racist part.
You're just talking generic Skins.
Well, if you know who Alex Smith is and at all what we're talking about, then I'd imagine you know who I'm referring to. Anyway, so he's like, finally, all right, we got a playoff team, and then boom, he gets freaking Theismann on the same field that Theismann got Theismann on. And then all that stuff, on top of it all, he had a compound fracture. Oh, thanks, God. You're really looking out for me. Thank you. I sure hate to see this. At least it's not gangrenous. Oh, by the way, it is gangrenous. You might die. Sweet. Well, God, you want to help me out with that? Nah, I can't do it. I'm busy with all this Mahomes stuff over here. Have you seen him? He didn't know look past. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that's how lucky Alex Smith. That's how. Yeah, I'm sure he loves.
Listen, Okay.
that he's got the good
Listen,
life.
here's my takeaway.
I'm sure the good life sounded great when his leg was shattering. To 1,000 fucking pieces.
All right, here's my takeaway. This is a classic glass half full, glass half empty scenario here.
Yeah, that does suit us.
I'm willing to concede that we are seeing this series of events.
It's the same cup. It's the exact same cup.
Which is odd, right?
And I agree.
Aren't I supposed to be the doom and gloomer?
It's so messed up because I agree with your outlook too. But I also agree with my outlook. He is lucky. You like to be one of the, like you said, 32 starters in the NFL. That's not nothing. That's pretty damn cool.
To then make it 2 starter, to then make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that's
not nothing. You're good.
Some quarterbacks play the entire career and never get a playoff.
But I feel that he's either really hot or really cold in this particular life. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Anyway, Dane is the eternal optimist. David is the doom and gloomer. With that,
I see the real world.
We move forward into the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 27. Can be found at wmdpodcast.com/27. Can be found on YouTube, every major podcast hoster. Check us out, like us, share us on all the platforms that you can. Subscribe. Make sure you do subscribe so you get notification of next week's episode, for example, YouTube.
Have you ever
like and share with friends.
Have you ever heard and subscribe if you're doing the YouTubies? Did you just say that?
I just said that for like 5 minutes.
I was thinking about the next thing.
You really have become the other Dane today.
I have. Damn it.
Tuning out what I have to say.
I was just thinking of the history of the slashes and dude, forwards. Have you ever heard of www.whatever./
Are we tangenting already?
The agent of the backslash is the killer, man. He's everywhere. It's always backslash. You never even hear /.
Okay.
Never even hear.
Okay. Anyway, with that being said, let's tell you what we're getting into today.
What shit pile are we stepping in today?
You know, it's not too far afield from last week's episode where we're talking about two sides need to talk to each other, because if they don't, how are they going to come to any sort of common ground that makes each of their lived experiences better? But then we started thinking about divisive rhetoric, right? Now, everybody will agree with you, left, right, or center. It doesn't matter what their political persuasion is. If you ask them, should divisiveness be turned up or down in this country? Almost 10 out of 10 are going to tell you, yeah, we should work together. We should try to work our differences out. There's too much divisiveness.
But then,
would you agree with that?
But then, what do they do in the next breath?
Right. They say something absolutely
divisive. And if those guys would knock it off, we wouldn't be as divisive as we are.
Right.
It's their fault. It's like,
right.
You see what you did there? No, I'm peaceful.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful, right? Because then that gets into, okay, so if everybody agrees that it's a problem, why is it continuing to still go in the divisive route? And what we're thinking is like, because both sides are utterly convinced of the moral righteousness of their position. Like they're absolutely right, and the other side is just being obstructionist for the sake of it, and because they're evil, terrible people.
It's cool to be on the right side.
Yeah, if you're actually there. So because they're convinced of the righteousness of their cause, you can't ever tell them that they're being divisive, because what's their response going to be?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, what do you mean? I'm just saying the truth. I'm just following science. I'm just, pick whatever bromide they throw out there to be like, I'm the one that's morally justified.
You know what we haven't done in a long time too, by the way, that you just did?
What?
The vocab word of the day.
Vocab word of the
Bromide.
day. Bromide.
To bromide.
To brominate.
To proliferate.
Okay. So they'll just to say like, listen, I'm the righteous one. I'm the one that's spouting truth and reason, and they're just not listening. They're being assholes. Divisive, right? So nobody hears that
they want the fight.
They never hear the criticism that they're divisive. It's in one ear and out the other. And so, and this gets to not necessarily, maybe it is a meme of the day. Dave and I's point on this is they have both sides have morphed together the concepts of virtuousness and outrage. And that in order to be more righteous in your own movement, to be more virtuous, you need to be more outraged by the other side and say more outrageous things, accelerationism. And it's created this feedback loop that puts us in the situation we're in, and David and I are going to tell you how to get out of it.
We are?
Yeah, at the end.
We have an escape route?
We do.
Oh, shit.
We do.
Well,
we still want to break down this virtue outrage concept.
This virtue outrage, and they're always outraged to the other side. And then what they keep saying is that when it boils over, and we see what we have been seeing over the past couple of months, like the BLM riots going violent and burning businesses and so on and so forth, and then what we just saw on Capitol Hill, it's always Antifa got in there, or the Proud Boys, or something. There was some infiltration, and that's coming from the side that perpetrated.
That agrees with it.
No, that perpetrated. Right, exactly. It's like, it was peaceful until there were agitators, and it wasn't part of us. But like, I mean, I hope you know in your heart of hearts that that's probably not what happened. It's probably just reached this boiling point because, like we said before, like it's just accelerating. There's no brakes to this thing. There are, and we're going to get to it later. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and the brakes are simple. It's just put your foot on it. But it's just there's no path out if you just keep getting outraged. And by the way, this outrage culture, what we used to call it is just bitching. You're bitching. You're bitching about something. Instead of telling everybody how outraged you are about this one thing, go out and change it then. Stop telling everybody that you're so outraged about it, and go out and change it and do it peacefully, and don't get any agitators involved because that will ruin your plan.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Think about what they're also doing when they say, yes, we agree with the things that went down, or like the underlying causes of this protest are legitimate, but those are bad actors, and we're going to try as much as we reasonably can to try to distance ourselves from the bad actors, because it suggests, back to the outrage righteousness dynamic, it suggests that people who hold your position are so morally justified and good and righteous that they wouldn't possibly act in such a way that would, cause you to question the narrative in general. But you never put any accountability on that group, right? Because if that group happened to agree with you and is also capable of destructive violence, then you have to admit maybe there's something about our messaging which could make people that angry, and we need to re-examine.
It's like it's a removal from logic. Is that if you are truly that outraged and you're that emotionally volatile, yeah, you would do some pretty crazy shit, and it would only make sense that you would do it.
Yeah.
Like, so if that's how outraged you are, just say that, okay, I lost my mind, temporary insanity, yada, yada, yada. This is what outrage looks like. Mm-hmm. This is what actual outrage looks like.
Right. And these are, the more legitimate reasons to be outraged than maybe some of the more mundane things that you're getting outraged about now.
It does bear credence.
Right.
So, and again, it comes back to that culpability and take accountability for your actions. Like, yeah, things got out of hand because they're this way.
Yeah, and they're either
actually help you. Is what I'm saying.
Either they are this way because the outrage is so justified over the cause, or it turned out this way because maybe our rhetoric was packaged in such a way that it incentivized some people at the edge, at the perimeters of what we would think is acceptable, right? To take it to another level we weren't prepared to go to. We didn't encourage the violence. Right? Both sides are going to say this. They're going to say, we didn't encourage the violence. We said what we said, and then like this fringe group kind of took it But again, if you always say it's outsiders that were responsible for that, you never turn around
You
the
never
mirror on
take any
yourself and
responsibility.
say, okay, what did I say and how could I have said it to not have elicited passions that strong that, violence would be committed. If you never have that discussion, best of luck to ever finding that maybe the problem is within. But again, that's not in lieu of examining external forces as well. Maybe there are really Trump people at BLM riots and Antifa people at Trump riots.
Sure.
Maybe I'm sure it's true, but it need not be for the two sides to say, oh shit, this thing is ratcheting up. What can we do on our respective sides that we have 100% control over? We can at least do these things. We can't control what the other side does, but we can at least tone down and not do X, Y, or Z because that made one of our guys act out. And if you don't have that discussion, it's only going to go in one direction. A ratchet only works in one way, up.
Until you flip that little switchy, and then it goes the other way. So,
Yeah.
so be ratchet dynamics
Right.
101
Decelerate.
coming from, D&D over here.
Yeah. So, back to that, outrage virtue thing. So, right. So nobody is divisive, right? Because they won't accept that criticism
But they're outraged.
because they're righteous.
But they're outraged. How are you not divisive if you're outraged?
Right. Because both of the religions, again, that see themselves as righteous, and again, we're just going to use very broad brush terms, the left and the right. Both of the religions on the left and the right are saying we're morally justified and righteous. Therefore, we are speaking all the truth. Therefore, anybody that disagrees with us is the divisive one. And what my religion tells me, and this is what both of their respective religions tell them, is that one way to signal to both my in-group, people that agree with me, fellow Trumpers or fellow lefties, one way that I can signal to them is by being outraged by that other side, which is disagreeing with me on pick your point or topic X. And because that other side is so evil, my outrage is justified. It's virtuous. We've elevated it to the level of virtue. You've now incentivized everybody to look at their in-group and say, I'm a stronger, more ardent believer than you in the righteousness of our cause because I get outraged
Spartacus.
more.
I'm Spartacus.
So then you have this internal fight within the in-group of everybody arguing with each other over who's more outraged. That encourages the ratcheting up, the acceleration of the rhetoric on both sides.
If you remember that Family Guy quote, I was the first one that wanted to go to war.
Yes, exactly
what we were
like that.
forgetting is that if you don't want to go to war, that you're gay. I want to go to war. I want to go to war. I was the first one that wanted to go to war.
Exactly.
That's
So
how it works.
you create that in-group conflict, but then you also have what I'm going to call the Hatfield and McCoy effect. You have the Hatfield and McCoy effect between the two religions too, in terms of outrage.
Right.
So let's not forget that a couple of years before, mostly Trumpers stormed the Capitol, we had a guy who, on the left, ardent Bernie fan, the rich are evil and Republicans are their handmaids, yada, 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 went to a congressional baseball game and shot a sitting congressman. Shot him. This is like 1700, 1800s type shit.
From the side that said that we need to get rid of all the guns because...
the love Trump's hate side. Right?
Because the guns can
So,
murder.
Again, that's not us saying that all lefties would do that. That's saying that something about the interplay of their rhetoric and their followers, and as also what they think about the other side, played into that guy's radicalization. But you can't admit that. And then fast forward a couple years, now we have Trumpers storming the Capitol. A few people died, some of them on the Trump side, a congressional security, policeman, and I think all the other deaths were on the Trump side. I don't know. Anyway, point is, people died over violent actions from a Trump riot, and everybody just thinks that history started yesterday.
Yep.
And that just happened in a vacuum. And there wasn't, like I said, the Hatfield and McCoy effect where it accelerated. The Trumpers looked at the shooting of Representative Scalise, and some of them, the more radicalized faction, said, tit for tat, they took one of ours, boys, let's go get one of theirs.
It's like, you being my player, I'm going to being one of your players. You being my cleanup hitter, I'm going to be your cleanup hitter.
And that incentivizes more outrage.
Well, and then to bring it back home, it's like, well, when they said that the last election when Trump got elected, because it was such a farcical thing that it could never have happened, that it had to have been,
cheating, right?
Cheating.
The Russians.
Oh, the Russians, they got in there. And then they're like, and then now they placate it like, yeah, well, we did prove it that they manipulated our our system by using Facebook against us. Like, oh, so you mean that they just talked to you on Facebook and convinced you to do what they wanted you to? That sounds like they outsmarted you. That doesn't sound like they fucking manipulated and got in.
I can't remember what the numbers. It was, I want to say it was like a few $100,000 of Facebook ads.
Right.
Like, and they traced explicitly to like Russia.
Holy shit. If you went back to Stalin and told him that like all you needed was like $100,000 and like this thing called the internet and then a thing called Facebook. You could
take down the entire, your other superpower.
Holy shit.
He would have used
Where
that.
do I sign? And then now, okay, so once you call that foul, now the other side's going to go, okay, we'll see that foul, but then the next time you do something that we don't like, it's going to be a foul. And here we are. Now, they wanted to stop counting votes during the election. They're like, stop the count. It's like, he's ahead, stop. Like, that's not how this works. I know, but stop. You're cheating. Like, no, okay, so now we've got another system. Now we've got another election right in a row. How weird that 2 elections, all the other elections beforehand, completely fine, no big deal. Everything went smoothly. And these 2 elections right in a row were the worst elections. They were the most rigged. They were stolen. They were the 2 stolen elections. Like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Tit for tat.
Right. It's accelerating. And that's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time is when you create this.
Jesus Christ, what's going to happen the next election?
This outrage equals virtue and virtue equals outrage. This feedback loop increases the ratcheting up, both in terms of intensity and pace. Are those two the same thing?
You know what a feedback loop is, by the way? Intensity and pace. No, intensity is like, and then pace is like speed.
Yeah. Okay. So I was right.
But to the feedback loop, just sidebar, you know where that comes from?
What?
That thing that you got sitting back there, an amp, when it starts getting the same tone into it, it starts insisting upon itself. I'm just kidding. It's called feedback. So it keeps getting the same tone, and then the more it goes.
Isn't that the Newtonian equal and opposite reaction?
And then it creates that like little where it like pierces your fucking ears.
Well,
and you're like, cut it out.
You probably just
I
pierced
hope so.
the.
So now they know. That's a feedback loop.
Okay. Anyway,
graphic example of what we're talking about. You're welcome. This is science. I follow the science.
Follow the science. Yeah. No. Totally true. So anyway.
It's like we just finished coitus and you told me to go clean myself up.
So
I love you too, honey.
So anyway, so that's the problem. Like I said, maybe it's a meme, maybe it's not, but regardless of everybody believes that it's the meme, the way things are ratcheting up it's not going to be good for either of those sides, and it's not going to be good for those of the rest of us that are just like, do whatever you want, just leave me the fuck alone. Like, just please, will you just leave me alone for like 5 minutes?
It's like the Kevin Hart bit. Kill us! Kill us! Kill your side. Us ain't mad. You're the one with the attitude. Don't
That's
take the
exactly.
90% of us down with you 10% that are losing your fucking minds.
Right. And so, to put a stop to that, the quote unquote, the mainstream, the center people of both movements that are engaging in this accelerationist rhetoric, the image that comes to mind is the Kathy Griffin holding Trump's severed head up on the front of a magazine or whatever. Like, I mean, come on. Was that again, if we're going to all agree that divisiveness is a general bad thing, and we're not looking at it as a right versus left, for her to do that in the political climate and to not be like, yeah, I could see where this might, divide a couple people and give them a kind of rallying cry. You don't think people on the Trump side are going, yeah, you guys remember that Kathy Griffin picture? Yeah, they showed cutting his head off. You think we should actually do that to one of them? You don't think that conversation's happening with some of those people? It probably is, but guess who gave them the ammo?
Yeah.
Kathy?
If you
and again, it happens on both sides.
you punch somebody in the face,
sorry we have to always say that.
and expect not to be punched back, and potentially, if you okay, it's like if you walk over to a bear and slap him and expect him to go, yeah, you know what? I was doing something wrong. I shouldn't have been here in the first place. You're absolutely right. You are fooling yourself, and that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing right now. Yeah. So, Dane, have we worked on all the things that is wrong with this? Can we finally tell them what the parachute opening is, what the lever, what the escape hatch is to all this bullshit?
Open that parachute early if you have to. Just avoid the fall damage, okay?
Yeah. Fall damage in a game that you don't play anymore.
Yeah. So, the fall damage of civilization collapsing is a little bit more severe. So I think we all have a vested interest in that not happening.
Slightly.
So yeah, you know what, David? I think there is some simple.
What is it?
A simple remedy to this thing.
Dude, I'm about ready to pop, so you better tell me.
Listen, man, just talk to people. Just talk.
What?
I know I'm pretty sure we said that last time.
We're sounding like broken fucking records. You mean talking to people might actually help change your point of view?
I think it can.
We should caveat this one. We should start talking to people that we don't agree with.
Yes, clearly we're already talking to people we do agree with.
Right.
Right.
That's an echo chamber. But talk to people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And just see, talk to them as, I know they're Satan. I know they're
not
walking
that.
down.
I know David and I are airy-fairy for, this is our twist on Kumbaya.
Kumbaya, my Lord.
Don't say the same things I say when I'm going to say it.
I can actually perform it.
Listen, again, you can dismiss what we have to say by saying, too airy-fairy for us. Fine, whatever. All we're saying is if everybody...
Enjoy your silence, because who doesn't want to talk to people?
Right.
Don't you want to talk to people? You've been stove up, technically, if you live in California for the last 10 months. If you just see a human, I feel like you're going to be like, oh, you exist. And he's going to be like, you exist, dude. We exist.
It's gonna be like we all felt it in movies like, what was the one with Will Smith?
I Am Legend?
I Am Legend.
That's that connection that we have. All you had to say was that one with Will Smith. I was like, he's made more than one. I don't know if you know that. And he's been in a lot more.
Okay. All right. Anyway, the reason why...
the flow. Wait, the second...
The reason why that comes to mind about what David was just saying earlier about seeing another human, I think this is a universal feeling, or maybe it was just me. Maybe I'm sappy. I think it was like a universal feeling of everybody who watched that movie. Just like in the back of your mind, you had that nagging question: how cool would it be if he met another person? Because we can all kind of sense that sort of loneliness. Like, yes, you have your dog.
I've got a better one.
But as much as we complain about the other humans around us, we get a lot of enjoyment out of the other humans around us.
If a man that absolutely hates a chick can still sleep with her.
Oh my God, why? We were doing so good this episode.
Then you can talk to a person that you don't agree with. That's not. I feel like
you took
it's
that
not too
pretty
much of an
surface
ask.
level.
Yeah,
okay. I thought you were going to go much deeper.
I can go granule if you want me to. We can get real deep, real quick. Get it? Oh. Pun intended.
No.
Anyhow.
But anyway, yes, people.
I'm funny.
If you're not talking, you got three choices. You can either talk and resolve your differences. You can either separate amicably, or you can force that person you hate with to live with you and share a government.
Oh, they're gonna love you.
Don't think that the two of you aren't going to come to blows over who controls that thing. Because if you aren't talking and you aren't splitting, there's only violence left if you still have differences.
And if that's what you truly want, then
keep playing the game.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Or
because we're going to end up there.
If you don't want that, just talk to people.
All right. Well, one more time. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Do all the other things. And then, do we have the Amazon thing up and running yet?
No. We are very close. It's my fault. I am the holdup. Site is almost monetized.
That's called extreme accountability. So
site is almost monetized. And here's what the humble favor that we ask of you, dear listeners. Yes, there are going to be options to subscribe and, contribute to the podcast monthly or a one-time donation. There will be all kinds of ways to support the podcast, and we appreciate every single red cent that comes in. However, you will be able to support the podcast without spending anything extra out of your pocket on us, and go into our support us page, and you'll see we have an Amazon link there. If you just go to the website, you click on that link before you do whatever Amazon shopping you're already going to do.
They've heard this spiel before. If you listen to podcasts,
Okay.
they've heard this spiel.
All right. I went
click
too
on the link.
granular.
Yes.
Yes. Please, friends, family, again, if you like anything that we have to say about this and think that we provide value, do your Amazon shopping through that link first, and help this podcast become a going concern and growing with more episodes
Going
a week
and growing.
if we can afford it. Yeah.
Going and growing like my
Yeah.
prostate.
Yeah.
And then again, with the shop site, we're working on it. We know you're clamoring for that. What was the t-shirt that we came
For last week,
Those are the people.
Those are the people. ...
We
But
are the people.
We are the people.
That
Come
I
on,
know
you
you're
know
all
you wanna
clamoring.
wear that
I know
around.
you're all clamoring for it. So we're trying to, as fast as we can, to get that site up
Yes.
and running, and we will let you know as soon as
All
possible.
part of ways you can support the show, and we appreciate it. Any support, every like, every subscribe, every share with a family and friend, we love you.
We just want as many people to hear us as possibly can, because that's what crazy people want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And until then,
Now get
until
your
next
face
week.
melted off.
Yeah. Boom.